Alright guys, here's the gear for today. Finally getting around to Valley of Ashes. My smeller's working a little bit better, and so I'm looking forward to seeing if there's more than that burning rubber scent that I got a year or two ago when it first came out. I got a sample and I just couldn't get past that scent, so I'm hoping that the full tub is going to help me apprehend more. This is a version 3 Fanchurian knot on a That Darn Rob handle. Now he's called Chisel and Hound. You can see by the jelly tips. I don't have a lot of brushes that get this jelly, and so that's not a typical thing you see on my channel, but this one doesn't get too bad, I don't think. But it's been a while since I used that brush. I wanted to use it again because I'd been talking recently about the Fanchurians and the declaration knots and that sort of thing, and so it reminded me, hey, let's use this one. We're going to put the Personna comfort coated blade that I've been using back in the same razor as last time, the 46 gap Wolfman WR1, and it's got 3 or 4 uses on it. So it was different the first use. Second was smoother, and then it's been just fine ever since, even when taking down multiple days of growth. Yesterday, yesterday, we took down about 5 or 6 days with no problem. But to really evaluate this blade in this razor, which is a mild one, is a 46, it's a mild WR1, that's for sure. Does this blade match this mild razor well? And I'm going to guess it will. But today is going to make sure of that, since today is a normal 24-hour type day of growth. Get a little water on my face now. So Valley of Ashes is not a scent for the faint of heart. Stephen and Courtney put this one together a couple of years ago, and it has, it's got some strong industrial, rubbery, dark kind of vibes with it. And this is actually a special edition for the subreddit Wet Shaving. And so there was a series. This is part of a 3-scent series: the East Egg, West Egg, and Valley of Ashes. And I don't think I tried East Egg because the scent profile didn't really sound like something I'd like. But I did try West Egg and really enjoyed it. Kind of a bubbly aldehyde type celebratory. Champagne type, light grape type scent, and it hit the nail on the head with that one. This one was, and it was all part of a Great Gatsby series, and so Valley of Ashes represents a whole different kind of thing in that series. So let us load up. The version 3 here, Fanchurian brush, has been soaking for a while I did other things. I'm going to shake most of the water out of it. It's not a huge knot, and you can see it's not lofted, a long way out. Let's compare it to this I lofted this guy myself, and so it looks like maybe 4 millimeters, 3 millimeters more on this one. This is a 26 millimeter sterling badger, finest badger, that I lofted myself as high as it would go because it's got a lot of backbone. This guy doesn't have nearly as much backbone, and so that's why a shorter loft is still going to be easy to manipulate and a nice easy splay. 15 seconds, 20 seconds. It's not a super firm soap, and so I think maybe a time like that. So let's go with 15 seconds as kind of maybe a goal, but these are jelly tips, and so I may go 20. We started at the 15-second mark, and so going to 30. Let's do 20. So that's 15 seconds there. And we went to 35. So that's 20 seconds. Let's do another 5 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 25 seconds. Since these tips were kind of jelly, I wanted to go ahead and try more. And so if there's any drippy stuff in the tub here, I just like to, there's something in me about that makes me not want to waste that and let it go down the drain. So I let that pour into my lather bowl. So here's what the brush looks like after the load. We'll see if that's going to be enough. If the brush has super soft tips, sometimes that means you have to add a little bit more load time if you compare it with the load time of a brush with the same soap that has more, that has medium tips, you know, that kind of thing. I personally like the Fanchurian knots when I give them a long soak. Talking 15 minutes or more is my preference because I started noticing it, and I've told this story many times. I had one Fanchurian for a long time, and I noticed at the end of the shave, after I had only pre-soaked it 3-5 minutes, I noticed at the end of the shave, I was really enjoying the softness of the brush. But at the beginning of the shave, I wasn't. So one day I decided, hey, maybe it's the fact that these tips or these bristles or something need more soak time than just 3 or 5 minutes. And so I gained an appreciation of the Fanchurian when I switched to more like a 15-minute soak at the minimum. Lather's looking good. And so then I applied that same logic to basically all of the treated tipped brushes, usually Finest Badger. And so if I run across one of those brushes, I make sure that I get the softest tips out of it that I can with a nice long soak like that. The good thing is that's customizable, right? And so if you don't want your tips to get that soft, then don't soak it as long. Lather's looking great. The brush splays out and goes underneath this little shelf of lather. I thought it was going to be too wet, but nope, it's evening out nicely. This is a terrific soap base, and it's also vegan, and so it is a one of my top vegan bases. For sure. Let alone, I think it stands its ground among many tallow soaps. I can definitely think of some tallow soaps that I would prefer this over. So just because it's tallow doesn't mean it gets the easy ride to top performance. So I think I'll go with a little bit more, but I think maybe I should stop adding water. 12 milliliters or something like that might be what I have. I may have bought this brush from Ben of Mammoth Soaps, of House of Mammoth fame. That is in my brain. I don't know if it's accurate or not. Let's take a look at what the lather looks like now that we've kind of added some water. Oh yeah, look at that. That looks terrific. Let's just try that. Not get too wet. I think I remember making a note that this base likes to be run just a little bit drier than maybe my normal cues might tell me to. And we'll just add a little bit more, some sprinkles of soap of water to the brush during the shave if I'm wrong and it needs a little bit more water. And speaking of more water, let me put that on my face. All right. Oh, the softness. Man, this is a great knot. Version 3. Those tips they've got that gel, and so got that crazy softness. You can see that it's splaying pretty easily. It does have a little bit of core backbone there, but it's not so much that it interferes with anything. Where is this scent taking me here? Oh, nice. I'm not getting just that burning rubber note. That's terrific. I like Midnight Stag. I like Barrister and Mann 4 Horsemen War. I like Pine Tar. I like a lot of those weird, manly type scents that are so divisive. And so that's why I wanted to revisit Valley of Ashes. Because on paper, with all the notes mentioned, I just thought, you know, I should like this. And so I was just guessing that maybe something went wrong with my nose or something when I first tried it. Or sometimes, I've had this happen on a few soaps. There'll be some overwhelming note or a couple of notes that will kind of get your nose the first time you use a soap, and that will be what your brain focuses on. And then if you keep using it in about 3 uses or so, that big mountain that's just in your way of apprehending all the other notes that are in it, it just disappears. And then all of a sudden, Barrister and Mann Bay Rum, one from a white label from a long time ago, was my first time that happened. And then I noticed it. And then I try to remember to give soaps a chance like that. I kept using Bay Rum, and then all of a sudden, wow, I started to like it a lot more. The burning rubber smell is just not nearly as dominant as it was before. Yeah, I can smell other pieces to the scent profile. It is still kind of a industrial, like scorched earth. No, well, not maybe scorched earth, but wasteland, harsh type scent. But I can smell other roasty bits to the kind of the burning rubber type smell. And the roastiness really does help to round it out. Okay, let us try this blade on a normal day's growth in the Wolfman WR1 46 gap. And it is the Personna Comfort Coated, a very inexpensive blade in most markets. Oh, and it is just breezing through the stubble. This is a terrific combination. Assuming I get to the end of the shave and we've got a good cut. You know, hopefully it's not being nice because it's not cutting anything. That is very nice. You can hear a little bit of the edge. You can barely feel the edge. I think I remember Peter Cook mentioning when I was using this razor on a recent video that he remarked on. He said he might think that this one was, you know, too mild for him. And yeah, he's probably right. I think he's shaved enough to where he can make a good guess on that. And we do know that the 46 is a very low gap when it comes to your standard WR1 razor. So it's not typical. So it might just be too small of a gap for him. The smaller gap, if you're new to shaving, means that the acceptable angle for an effective shave is smaller because the blade is more recessed inside of the cross section here. The top cap, and then here's the base plate. You know, the blade will be my finger here, and when you've got more of a gap, you've got more exposure. And so that means you've got a wide array of angles where you can hold your razor and still get a good cut or an effective cut. It may be rough, but the blade is there and it's able to cut, right? Whereas here's that cross section again, if we back that blade back up into in the kind of the safety, tuck it in above this safety bar and up underneath the top cap here, as much as we can to where the blade is still cutting, then we narrow down that possible angle that you can get a good shave with. And so some people find that very frustrating. But the beautiful part is if you can train yourself to find that angle by listening to the sound, by feeling it, that sort of thing, if you can find that angle, a lot of times you'll get great shaves and they'll be super smooth and non-irritative. They'll just leave your skin feeling great. The Gillette Tech is kind of like that. Sometimes people find it's just a challenge to get that angle right. But when you do, if you stick around with it, then it can be a real reward. And that's also why I like to put sharp blades in mild razors. And when I say sharp, I mean all blades are sharp, right? Of course they are. But ones that tend to be maybe a little bit rough or extra bitey to me, like feathers and nassets and some of those, I love to put those in these mild razors. All right, let's rinse off my face. Let's take a pause because I've got the Four Horsemen War right here. With the Valley of Ashes around me now, what's this going to smell like? Oh yeah, that mossy, little bit of the citrus and the mossiness comes out. And what does this also say? Hot metal and gunpowder. No, I think the Valley of Ashes is causing the more extreme parts of this mix here to back off. Something kind of green is pulling through a little bit. And I think that maybe that's where I was pointing about the moss. Maybe something about the hot metal. The chypre. The chypre is the base. Then citrus resins, moss, and some other type ingredients are the base of all four of the Horsemen type scents. I think I'm smelling that a lot more in here. That cilantro-like scent still comes through, but I am normally able to delineate that kind of hot metal type scent and the gunpowder scent to where it doesn't feel like I'm shaving with a cilantro soap. And I can, it does feel war-like to me and not herbaceous. So that was neat. All right, now back to Valley of Ashes. Yeah, this doesn't have that anything like that same green kind of herby quality. Incidentally, a little trivia note, if you do ever go to Pasteur's Pharmacy or Maggard, a brick and mortar store where you're able to smell a lot of stuff, bring some coffee beans. Bring some coffee beans with you or some coffee grounds. That type of bitter smell is a good way to reset your nose. If you plan on smelling a lot of things, your nose, I took a class in perfumery, a basic introductory class years ago. And that was one of the things that you do to help your nose be able to perceive things for a long term is every once in a while you smell something bitter like coffee. And that helps to reset it because let's say you're smelling soaps, about 5 soaps in, you're going to start going nose blind and your smelling is going to be inaccurate. Okay. So bring some coffee along. Sometimes you may even see a little bowl of coffee grounds at a facility like that for that exact purpose. All right. All right, second pass. And no, I don't have a ton of lather, but I do have plenty to get the job done. So I think that was a 25-second load. So it looked like I could have gone 20, but I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, this brush feels terrific. Feeling the stubble left over after that first pass was done was great because it was very smooth. The hair was just gone, so the razor seemed to be quite effective. Cross grain now. Moving and sliding easily because this is a terrific soap base. With soap bases like this, I have good hope if the animal rights people ever brainwash the government into thinking that we need to get rid of tallow. This kind of soap, at least knowing that it exists, is a comfort that we're still going to get good performance out of our shaving soap. Saponificio Veracino is another good vegan base. Just terrific, smooth shaving here. Quick movement on the face. Very happy with it. The heaviness, the gravitas, the punchiness, the strength of these coarse notes like rubber. It's smoothing out right now. But those notes I was just talking about here, I like shaving with a soap that has those notes because you're able to experience them. But unlike a cologne, if you were to buy the Valley of Ashes cologne, or some other cologne like Port-au-Prince is a sterling scent that's very strong. I love the soap, but I don't like the aftershave splash because that harshness in the scent department, I like during the length of time that a soap provides it to me, which is on the shorter term. A splash or a cologne means you have to kind of be around it for a long time, and something this strong might not be for everybody's nose. And so I love the fact that I get to enjoy this type of scent. I don't even need to do a third pass, but I've got the lather and the brush feels great. Yeah, this is a really nice knot. It's comfortable in the backbone department. It could stand to be just a little bit less backbony, but then the tips just, I mean, if they got any softer, they would feel like kind of wet sponges and stuff, and I don't think I want that. So I think it's pretty good. And when I say pretty good, what I mean to say is terrific. And this is just a cleanup pass, just to get a few little extra bits. You can hear a few hairs being cut. I am puffing my cheeks to help with that. Tilting my shoulder back, my chin up the opposite way. Help with stretching the skin a little bit. You can do different techniques to get your skin tight. You may just want to puff your cheeks. You may even want to get over here on your sideburns and lift that up if you want to get closer. A bunch of different ways you can make sure your skin's not too loose. And this is a place where I'm very ginger and careful, very light. I watch my angles very carefully so that I end up with a comfortable result, because I can go against the grain right there and it doesn't feel good most of the time. Well, there we go. That was just terrific. I definitely don't need any more passes. I'm going to loosen up the head, run some water through there, clean that out, and get a good rinse now. Now, I believe on the second pass, I applied the lather to a face that had lost its moisture because I was talking right after the rinse. I had the moisture on my face, but I was talking to you guys and that moisture kind of left. And so in appearance wise, it may have looked a little more dry, and sure it was. However, it still functioned and was very slick. So I believe that, I really nailed the lather this time, because when my face had a little bit of moisture, which it pretty much always does as a general rule, then this was creamy. The rinses just felt luxurious in terms of the slickness, the razor performance, moving along easily across my skin. And but it wasn't dry. It was really wet enough to make it have that kind of slickness. So I think really performance-wise, I hit it right on the mark to get the right hydration today. And yeah, I could use this on a regular basis. It doesn't have any standout warmth type characteristics that that come to my nose right away, like vanilla or amber, you know, something like that. And so it doesn't necessarily take it to a cool weather, you know, type of fondness or attachment. And so I think it's really kind of year round. But the caustic nature of the burned rubber and all the other elements in there, I think could maybe make you think it was a cooler weather soap. Maybe it's less relevant to warmer weather, but maybe not actually. I mean, it depends on where you put your mind in terms of if you're taking yourself to a certain place with the scents, then a hot day, Valley of Ashes happen because things are on fire. That could be conducive to a little mental story that you're doing with your shave. So, what do I smell right now? My nose isn't quite back at 100%, I think, from my recent congestion. And so it's pleasant. It's definitely not that caustic, harsh, burned rubber smell that I smelled years ago with the sample. Very nice. But unfortunately, I'm not able to really pull out and identify pieces of the blend. I just know that I like it. Valley of Ashes. And it's just a beautiful lather there. And I've got 2 or 3 passes remaining. So plenty there. And the brush, yeah, there's a reason I keep this brush around. That was just spectacular. The lather was luxurious. The brush worked perfectly with it to be soft and luxurious, like I took the softest sheep out of the meadow and lathered my face with it, you know. Very nice. How much water did we use? 13 milliliters, somewhere around there. It's good to smell war at the same time as Valley of Ashes. If I go back to the tub, sometimes if you smell the lather in the bowl, it's not as intense, or you'll get different notes if you just go straight back to the tub. Because, of course, the tub's more concentrated. The lather's had a chance to kind of age and certain notes to burn off, and the tub may not. Yeah, it's a little more concentrated, but still not reprehensible. And so I'm really glad I bought that. You know, that burning, when I say reprehensible, I meant that burning rubber scent that put me off years ago. So goodbye. I bought Boonana at the same time as I bought the Valley of Ashes right there. Maybe I got on their site and there was a sale. Not real sure, but bought that straight from Southern Witchcrafts. And they're good people there. I think that's pretty much it, except for the aftershave. What is going to work with the aftershave? You know, I've got some full Horsemen Famine here, and one of you guys just posted a question about Famine. Let's follow up the Valley of Ashes shave with Famine. Let's give it a little shake in case he's got, you know, witch hazel and stuff mixed in here. Kind of a tobacco-y type scent, but jumped to the forefront of my nose. I don't know if there's any tobacco in it. That's definitely a complementary scent. It works with the Valley of Ashes. It does take you to a little different place, but it's compatible, that's for sure. I'm smelling the kind of almost not the same greenery that I got with the War, but that mossy, almost like a sinewy type of greenery. Not really a fresh greenery. Does it have the notes? Ah, yeah, dust, hunger, citrus, resins, and moss. Dust. Yeah, a little bit of floral, but mostly kind of greenery and the mossy type thing. Very compatible with the Valley of Ashes. Matter of fact, I kind of believe that if I had Famine and I had a portion of the Famine soap scooped into my bowl, and then I took an eighth of a teaspoon of the Valley of Ashes and mixed it with that Famine soap to unify those two fragrances, I bet that would be terrific. Yeah, that works. Very nice. And the question that somebody posed to me was, did I know or could I link up the Famine as being similar to something else? And this is in a sphere of smells that I may not be able to do that with any skill. I'll try to think on it and see if I can come up with anything and answer him, but it may be that I just don't know. No, yeah, the Chypre is really coming out. There are a few elements that make up a Chypre, and that is definitely showing up now that some of those introductory scents have started to fade away. The Chypre base accord there is definitely coming out. And that's a more normal type scent. You don't smell what I'm smelling right now. You don't smell that and think something like Famine, or Valley of Ashes or something like that. You smell something, it's more pleasant and contemporary and traditionally shaving related. Yes. Oh, something's in my mind that this is very similar to. Well, but I can't picture it. I can't pull it out. Yes. Vetiver? Okay, I think there's a soap out there that's lemongrass and vetiver, and it may be MDC vetiver, but I can't remember. I think that's what the link is right now. Anyway, enough of that. Well, that was a good match. And that's enough for today's shave. You guys, thanks so much for watching. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and we had Valley of Ashes today from Southern Witchcrafts. We had a version 3 Fanchurian knot on a That Darn Rob handle, currently known as Chisel and Hound nowadays. We had the splash being the Four Horsemen Famine, and the razor being a 46 gap WR1 from Wolfman with a Personna comfort coated blade. And as it turns out, that is a winner of a combination for me. Smooth, very smooth shave, still a little sensation of the blade, so you don't feel like you're just kind of moving metal over your face with nothing happening, but quite smooth, very enjoyable. That's a great match. Terrific. All the best to you guys. Have a good night.